All right, so I'm live right now. I'm on Instagram. I was trying to set up my camera, but for some reason it's not working. So let me just do this on here. Just give me 2 seconds while I just set this up. So I'm going to talk about my activity book that I currently released, helping people get financially fit for 2024. Let's see here. So pin this comment. All right, so today I'm going to talk about the activity book that I just recently released and answer any questions you guys have about it. So, Inshallah, I'm busy right now. So, okay, bye. I'm on. So I'm gonna have a bunch of interruptions as I do this. Kids will be kids, right? So I can only do what I can. So here's a book that I just recently released called The Financially Fit Activity Book. It's to help adults with their finances get on track with budgeting, if they have any long-term goals to help them save towards it. So I created this book because not enough people are reading and they need to be implementing something like this in their life. So if you want to see the actual pages, you got to follow me on YouTube. So that's Dean the Wealth Coach for you to actually see what it is that I'm doing. So for the all right, so I'm gonna share my screen here. Share. So as you can see here, here's the activity book. So I'm gonna walk you guys through the activity book that I had. I had this conversation today with somebody, and they're looking to purchase a house. And one thing that they told me was they're kind of discouraged with the down payment. So I said, "Are you using the activity book yet?" They said, "Yes." I started working on one of the pages for the down payment for the savings. I asked, "Have you used the page that speaks about or called MASH?" So that's page 17. So MASH is a page that I created to help people get a sense of idea of how much that they would be paying for there. Sorry, I have to move that around. How much they'll be paying for a place in terms of down payment, their location, and also how many bedrooms that they have. So I created this page with that in mind because when I first purchased a property, I didn't know all this stuff, how much down payment, closing cost, or even how to even search for property. So I said, imagine how many other people are out there that don't know how to calculate how much that they need for an actual place. So I said, you know what, let me create something where it's fun and it doesn't seem like it's work that they're actually doing. So that's why I came up with this MASH page where you have different levels of down payments that you would be paying for a place, the number of bedrooms and location. Because once you have all that information, then you can kind of get an idea of how much that you'll actually need for a down payment on a place. And it makes it fun at the same time because a lot of people, they kind of just go into it blindly and not understand what it takes to figure out their cost for purchasing a property. So that was part one of the conversation that we had. Then they went on to tell me that they want to retire in the next couple of years and they don't want to have to work. So I said, okay, what are you or what's your number? And they're like, what? I was like, yeah, what's your number? What's your freedom number? What's the number that you need to obtain in order to be able to retire? And he said, you know what? I had this conversation with somebody and I don't want to seem like a downer, but what they told me, what's my number, and I thought to myself, if I know what that number is, I'm not gonna want to achieve that goal. So I said to her, Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but you need to figure out what that number is. Because if you don't know what that number is, you're kind of just gonna be running forever, and you're just gonna be somebody that's just gonna continuously having to work and work because you don't know what how much it is that you need to retire comfortably. So he said, yeah, it's gonna be a large number. Like if I hear $1 million, I'm not gonna wanna um, go after that or try to achieve that because it seems like it's unattainable for me. So I said, that's not the right way that you're looking at it. If you say you have a certain goal that you want to hit, there's many ways to make that number. So let's use $1 million for example. There's more than one way to make $1 million. Some people think, oh, I need to be a celebrity to be making $1 million. No. Or I need a high paying job in a corporate in one of like the Fortune 500 companies. No, there's many different ways that you can make $1 million. You just got to think outside the box. Stop thinking the way that you've been programmed to think your whole life. Like you have to go to school for 5 years, become a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant. No, there's many different ways that you can make $1 million. You can create a business. If you solve a big enough problem, yes, I'm that guy. If you solve a big enough problem for people, you'll be able to make a lot of money. You could also create a product or a service and be able to service people and charge a high price for these things. So there's many different ways that you can reach that goal. For her, it's $1 million. So I said, if you need to attain that in 4 years, what are some things that you can do in order to achieve that? And we started brainstorming. And when we were coming up with ideas, it seemed like I brought the life back into her. Like I gave her some juice into her battery pack. And she's just started to think over and over again or over and over some more as to different ideas that she could implement. And then she started thinking, she's like, okay, I'll work a second job. I was like, yeah, that's great, but how long you be at that job? She said, oh, only till I get like my second property. So when she said that, I was like, okay, you're starting to think now, because when you get that second property, two things happen. You're gonna get the rental income, it's not that much, but the appreciation of the property will go up, and I'll be closer, you'll be getting closer to that number that you need to retire comfortably. And I could hear the joy in her voice because there was hope for her. Because at one end, she was like, no, I can't do this. But then when I showed her different strategies or different things that she could do, her brain started to think, and she's like, okay, I got some thinking to do about this whole situation. So I said, start off with your freedom number. Like, what is it that you envision yourself for the future? And she's like, oh, I need a lot of money. I was like, no, you're not. You don't need exactly say $1 million. Go based off of the lifestyle that you want to live um, comfortably for the next 25 years. So figure out what all your expenses would be. So for those that are on Instagram, this is the freedom number page, and then you just a bunch of questions that you answer, and it also has like you list out all your expenses, how much it would cost on a monthly basis, and then there's just some basic math that you have to do. Everything is grade 5 math. Anybody can do it. If you take pen to paper and you start writing it down, you'll be able to figure these things out. So with that being said, I said start figuring out how much it would cost to live, say, in your dream home, or if you're buying a $500,000 property, how much that would cost you in terms of your mortgage, what your rental insurance would be, your property tax, and just break down all those numbers. I was like, it's a fun exercise for you to do at the same time, because now you're training yourself to figure out how much do I need to live comfortably. And once you figure out how much you need on an annual basis, then you can start doing some math to figure out, okay, this is how much I need. If I get this lump sum of money, then I'm good. Or if I create a business that generates this type of money, then I'm also good. So you have two routes that you could go: a business that's continuously bringing in that money, or you make a lump sum and you just sit on that. And then based on that money, you can take out a bit of it year after year. So for those that are on YouTube, I'm showing you the sheet. So this is the lifestyle sheet. You literally write out everything. What it is that you want, the car that you're driving, how much groceries you're buying, the taxes, the insurance, all these things that I put into the workbook for you to do. Because if you do not have a plan, you're pretty much setting yourself up for failure. So they say to fail to plan is to plan to fail. So that's why I created the sheet. So it gives you an idea of how much that you'll be spending later on. Imagine you see that number that you need. You need $1 million. You want to retire in 4 years. That's $250,000 that you need each year to get to $1 million. I also asked her, if you do not achieve, or if you do not get that, if you, what's the word I'm looking for? If you don't start implementing these things now, how much is it going to cost you not being able to retire in the next 4 years? So based off of her income, we reduced that from her $1 million. And I said, you know what that is? That's what you call the cost of ignorance. For the cost of not knowing, that's how much it's going to be costing you on a yearly basis for you not to hit that goal that you're trying to achieve. So if you're trying to achieve something and you don't have the information to do that, that's your ignorance cost that you're paying on a yearly basis. So you need to figure out a way to bring down that ignorance cost, or pay for mentorship. Mentorship's your fastest way to get you to that level that you want to be. So with that being said, I told her, I was like, if you get a corporate job and it's paying you 250,000, you're that much closer. Or if you create a business that's generating revenue for you, you're that much closer to your goal. And the more and more that you just keep learning and accelerating, you're gonna get closer to that goal. Because she said she wanted, or she's with the second job, she's gonna get a second property. So I said, now imagine if you got 10 properties by that time, and it's bringing in that cash flow that you need, and they're all worth about $1 million. You can retire comfortably at that point, but you got to start somewhere. So I said, figure out what your freedom number is, and then you can start working based off of that. The other question I asked is, if you do not hit that freedom number, let's say you hit 990,000, are you going to be upset because you didn't hit that number? And she said, no. So I said, great. Now what you need to do is you understand how much it is that you need, but now the one thing that you can control versus what you can't control, getting $1 million tomorrow, you can control your actions. So if you start placing the actions needed in order to make that $1 million, and you do that every day consistently, just showing up, your chances of achieving that goal is very high. But that's only if you put in that work. So if you know you got to be, if you're going to create a business and you know you got to be selling XYZ amount of products a day, then reach out to enough people so that you're hitting that daily goal. It's the little steps that you take every day that will get you closer to your goal. So they say be 1% better than yesterday. You don't have to do a ton today, but if you just take those little baby steps, you get closer and closer to achieving that goal. So that was something that me and her, I think we talked for maybe about half an hour. I felt good about myself because she sounded like she was just ready to go and start thinking. I said, create a business, tell your story. That's one of like the best ways to like start making money. And you only have to create it once. Imagine creating an ebook or an actual physical book and then selling that. You're a single mom. Tell other single moms how you did it, and then showing them the path on how they can be able to achieve financial freedom, purchase their first home for them and their family. There's many different things that you could do if you just start to think as to what you can do. And don't say, oh, I can't do it, I never did it. That's not an excuse. Like, if I figured it out, you can figure it out. I'm dyslexic, and I said, you know what? I can't write a book. I used to tell myself that, and I was like, you know what? I can write a book. I just got to figure a different way of writing a book. I'm not going to do it the traditional way that everybody else did it, but I figured it out. I don't let whenever there's a problem, I try to figure out how can I find the solution to it. A brick wall comes, you could either go over the brick wall, around the brick wall, or through the brick wall. So there's many different ways for you to figure out your problem. Every problem is a solvable problem. Don't say to yourself, I can't. Every problem has a solution. You just need to figure it out. It may take some time, but you'll be able to figure it out. And that's why I created this activity book, because so many people have problems when it comes to money. I said, you know what, let me make it an activity for you. It's something that you're actually doing day in and day out. And it's called the Financially Fit Activity Book for those that just joined. If you keep doing something over and over, you're eventually going to get better at it. For example, if you're somebody that, for those that don't know, I'm on YouTube. So if you want to see the actual pages that I'm using, you can log on to Dean the Wealth Coach. Make sure you subscribe as well. Okay. So here, I'm going to show you what it's like to create a budget for those that never created a budget for. You can create something so simple that's called the 5-3-2 monthly budget. So 50% of your needs, 30% of your wants, and 20% of your savings. You can set that up for yourself and literally That will help you stay on track with your money so that you're just not spending here, there, and everywhere. So I created enough pages that it would last you for a year to go through this 5-3-2 budget. It's a basic budget that anybody can do. And for those that have kids that's going off to college or university, this is a perfect thing that you can give them to use when they get that part-time job to make sure that they're in balance with the money that they have. A lot of these kids are going into college and university, don't even know what a budget is. They go into a lot of debt, they come out, and they're just as stressed as you were when you went to school. So if you want to set your kids up right, this is something that you need for them. If you are struggling to create a budget, this is the easiest way that you can start creating a budget. Every month, you start writing out whatever bills that you have. You put it on this sheet here, where it's your bill and income management calendar. So if you know you get paid bi-weekly every Friday, you write down how much you get paid bi-weekly every Friday. You know, the first of the month, it's rent. The second of the month, it's your phone bill. You write down all these things. So then you have no excuses to know what's going to be or what bill is coming up and what the due date is. So these are all things that I created inside of this activity book. So instead of you having to read what these things are, it's action, action, action. Because the more you start doing these things, the easier it is. It's going to be for you to actually start doing these things. So another page I want to show you guys. I'm going to move my phone around. It's in the way. This one's a big one. I put grocery list in here because a lot of people don't, I wouldn't say a lot. The people that I have spoken to or the workshops that I've done, maybe 80% of people do not shop with a grocery list. And groceries have gone up significantly over the last couple of years. So I said, hey, here's a grocery list. Now you go through your house, mark off whatever it is that you need so that now when you're going to the store, you're actually prepared to know or prepared as to how much you're going to actually spend instead of saying, oh my goodness, I spent like $300-400. I didn't want to spend that going into the grocery store. You go to the list, you stay on track, you're in, you're out, and then you're done. So that helps with making sure that you stay on track with the amount of money that you're spending, and then you're not overspending as well. Some people go into the grocery store, they say, oh, I think I needed this, buy some broccoli, some asparagus, and then they get home, oh, we already had that, and then guess what happens? The broccoli goes into the crisper or in the back of the fridge, and what happens? It spoils. The average consumer literally throws away about 30% of their vegetables every time that they go to the grocery store. So that's one way that you can help reduce the amount of money that you're pretty much throwing away with your groceries. Another sheet that I created is the credit report. People are not checking their credit report often enough, and when it's time to use their credit, guess what happens? A surprise happens. Like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this. I don't know how my score went down. Your score can go down for many reasons. It could be one, you increased your debt. Two, you did an inquiry. Three, you applied for new credit. These are things that will impact your credit score. And if you don't check this on a frequent basis, this is what happens to your score, just flips and flops. So you want to make sure that you have that intact. You also want to know how much of your debt that you're using. And the amount of debt that you're using is called credit utilized or debt to credit utilization. This plays a major role when it comes to purchasing a home or you're looking to get a loan from the bank. They look at your debt to credit ratio. So that's the amount of debt that they give you that you can use versus how much you're actually using. So if you have, I'm going to use easy numbers, $1,000 in debt that you can borrow at any time. If you use 500 of that, that's 50% debt to credit utilization ratio. If you're above like 50% in terms of purchasing a house, banks don't like that. The sweet spot is around 42% for debt to credit utilization. And if you're trying to increase your score and your score has been teeter-tottering in like the low mid 600s, you want to make sure that your credit utilization is below 30%. That's the magic number. If it's below 30%, that's how you can increase your credit score. Let me see here. So what other sheets do I have that I want to share with you guys? Oh, let me go back to the beginning. So I did create some sheets in the beginning of this activity book, and it deals with your history. A lot of people don't understand where their triggers are coming from, and I can almost guarantee you it's how you grew up with money, like how your parents demonstrated with money. Some of us didn't grow up where we talked about money at the dinner table. When it came to money, it was something that you literally kept to yourself, or your parents kept to yourself, and you said stay out of big people's business. That's how we grew up in my house. And who's in the fridge? Okay, go upstairs. You're making noise. So that was something that I said. I was like, you know what? This is something I think a lot of people are going through that actually need to hear this. It's like, figure out how you grew up with money. If you don't understand how you grew up with money, it's going to impact you when you get older. You need to understand these things, because if you can pinpoint as to where you started to develop this mindset around money, you can start to figure out how to unlearn those behaviors and pick up new behaviors to help you on your journey of making, or on your journey of having a better relationship with money. So I created a bunch of questions for you to go through, also some activities where you can understand more about yourself and how you grew up with money. This will help you strengthen your relationship with money and have a better relationship, an abundant relationship with money later on in your life. Let me see here. What was the other sheet that I want to talk about? I also write out the short-term goals, long-term goals for you to write down as well. There's something about putting pen to paper when you write down what it is that you want to achieve. It happens to come true more often than not. So write down your goals. For those that have the book, as soon as you get the book, that's one of the first things that you should be doing: going through your history, writing down your goals, figuring out your freedom number. Let's see here. What was the other sheet I want to talk about? So the freedom number. Also, acknowledge your money problems and forgive yourself. Write a letter to yourself and just forgiving yourself for all the mistakes that you made in the past. I know for me, I said to myself, I was like, yo, I made a lot of money, and what the hell did I do with it? And I just spent it everywhere. Like, I just didn't care. I was like, yo, I'll make more money, I'll make that back whenever. But I needed to when I got older, and I said, where's all this money that I had growing up, or when I was younger? I can't account for any of that right now. And I said, you know what? I gotta forgive myself for just splurging everywhere and not putting something away for later. Because when I needed it, I didn't have it. So I said, I need to be able to forgive myself and move forward from that. That's the only way I'm gonna grow. I need to be able to forgive myself. If it's not yourself, it's whoever wronged you with the money. If you don't forgive, you won't be able to get to the next level that you need to be when it comes to your relationship with money. Principles. Some of us don't have principles when it comes to our money. It's like you need to be able to have rules around your money. Like, I cannot spend XYZ. I'm not allowed to do this, or I have this much money set aside for whatever it is, like a rainy day. You want to at least have like 5 principles when it comes to your money management. Here, I said write a big check to yourself and claim it. If there's a certain amount of money that you want to make that check. So I'll show you guys what that check looks like. So for those that are on Instagram, make sure you follow me on YouTube and subscribe to my channel. Where is it? Just finding the sheet for you guys. Here, that big check. Make it real. It might be backwards, but make that check real. The amount of money that you want, the hourly rate that you want. And I said right here, what's your ridiculous hourly rate? Don't be afraid to ask what you're worth. Too often, people are not charging what they're worth. They feel like it's almost like they're intimidated to say how much that they really want. Don't be afraid to charge what you're worth. Your time is the most valuable asset that you have. If you are just going to give people your time for pennies on the dollar, you got to retrain your mind. Like, you don't want people to walk over you thinking that, like, oh yeah, I can pay this person like 20, 30 bucks. Like, no. If you're worth $500 an hour, charge what you're worth. Somebody out there will pay what you're worth. So don't let anybody tell you how much you can charge for your product or your service. If you want to charge $1,000, 10,000, $20,000, charge your worth. There's a guy that I follow on YouTube, and his mentorship, if you want to be a part of his annual mentorship, he charges $150,000 annually. And if you don't pay for 1 year and you come out, you can't come back into his program. There's people out there that will pay these things. So if you can figure out what your worth is in the market, charge it, and I guarantee you, your life will be 10 times better. Milestone Mountain. Instead of setting up a big goal, set it up in milestones. Give yourself like 5 different milestones, and just work to the lowest tier and just work your way up. This is a sheet that I created. We don't set up these milestones for ourselves. So when we do achieve something, it's almost just like, oh yeah, whatever. But when you set up these little milestones, it does something for you. It fuels that fire for you. It keeps that motivation, or not motivation, momentum going for you to continue to achieve these goals. So let's say you want 100 properties. You may be saying it's a dream that never happened, but if you write that down on paper, 100 properties starts with one. You get that one property, one can turn to two, two can turn to four, four turns to eight, eight turns to 50. Who knows? But if you start just with the little step first, you will eventually get to that big dream that you have always been desiring to achieve. For those that have debt, there's two ways that you can get out of debt. I call it, there's a snowball method and the avalanche method. The snowball method is essentially you start with the smallest amount of debt, and you put the majority of the money that you're going to pay towards debt towards that, and then all the other ones the you pay the minimum. And once that debt's cleared, you work on the next one, and whatever you had for that first debt, you roll that over into the next debt. And that's a method that you can use to help you pay off your debt faster. Instead of just paying minimum, 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 if you pay the minimum for all those, your debt will outlast you and will be passed on either to, if you're married, it'll be passed on to your family. If it's just you, then the debt just dies with you. But I don't want to die with debt. I don't want that on my conscience when I die. How the avalanche works kind of works in the opposite. You work with whatever has the highest interest first, and then you work your way down to the lower interest. So that's two ways that you can pay off your debt. So that's also a couple, I wrote those pages in the book as well. For those that are struggling to save money, I created some sheets in between the months that you're budgeting where you can, it's money bags. So I made them like savings challenge. Like this is the $1,000 6-week savings challenge. You're telling me that you are not able to save $1,000 in 6 weeks. If you discipline yourself enough, you're able to do it. So if you're somebody that spends maybe $300-400 in a grocery store, if you say, all right, this 1 week I'm gonna only spend $100 in the grocery store, you literally can put that money towards your savings. You're that much closer to saving $1,000. I challenged myself 2 years in a row. I said, you know what, I'm gonna save $10,000 in 52 weeks, and you know what, I was able to do it. So lo and behold, I put that sheet in here. Let me see if I can find it. For those that are not subscribed to my channel, make sure you hit me up on YouTube, Dean the Wealth Coach, so that you can actually see these sheets. So let me pull up that sheet here. I didn't fill it in purposely, but oh no, so I left the numbers kind of blank for you guys to fill out. But this is a 52-week savings challenge. You could either do equal amounts, or you can just throw random numbers in there to hit $10,000. I did random numbers. I think that works best for me because when it becomes something that's the same, I kind of just fall off. But because I changed the numbers, I was like, all right, this week I gotta save $500. This week $100. So it was just up and down, but it was fun for me and it was easy to do as well. So as I got paid or whatever money I made, I said, all right, I'm gonna put that towards my savings challenge. I also created something brand new. I haven't really released it, but this is like my savings box. So this, you kind of, whatever money you put in here, you mark off the amount that you put into these boxes. This one's $1,000 savings box. And the reason why I created that, because piggy banks, when you put money in there, do you actually know how much money is in your piggy bank? Probably not, right? So I said, why not actually see how much you're actually putting into the piggy bank? Well, that's a box, but you understand what I mean. Put that into the piggy bank to know how much money you actually saved. So that's something that I created. I haven't really released it yet. It will be released maybe spring, summertime. So look out for that as well. But getting back to the book, there's a bunch of different savings challenge in the book. For those that are old school like me and used to do the shoebox money, I made it nostalgic and made a shoebox savings challenge. So $200 into your shoebox every time you have $200, and it goes up to $5,000. So that's something that I put here that's kind of nostalgic to me and whoever kind of used to do that. So that's a sheet in here as well. There's the 100-day savings challenge to save $550. So every whatever amount of money you have up to 100, you just cross it off, and then if you fill up everything, you saved $5,050. So that's another sheet that I created with the savings challenge. For those that like real challenges, I have a no spend challenge. Last week, me and my family did it. We did pretty well up until like the last couple of days. I bought gas. Um, I didn't really have a choice. So I just didn't want to think about how to figure out the points on my card or whatever. So I paid for gas. I think Stacy bought chips, but that was like all the money that we spent. Like we didn't spend a dime for a week. Like no groceries, nothing. So whatever was in the house, we literally had to just use what we had and be very resourceful with the things that we had in the house to survive for that week. I was gonna do a month, but I was like, yeah, I can't do it. Luckily, we had some gift cards, so I was able to treat the little ones to McDonald's. Stacy had $25 gift card, so we went to McDonald's. They had that, and it was fun. It was a fun challenge that we got to do. So I'd encourage you guys to try the no spend challenge, either with credit cards or just absolutely no spending with even your debit cards. That one's a big challenge. If you can do that, I applaud you for that one. So that's another sheet that I created in the Financially Fit activity book. This year is about getting out of debt and living your best life, but you got to start somewhere. And that's why the Financially Fit activity book was created. It's to help you get fit. Think of it like going to the gym. If you want to become physically fit, you got to go to the gym, you got to eat right, you got to make sure you get your daily intake of water, go to sleep on time. You got to do all these activities, right? So why not create activities around your money instead of making it such a daunting task to do? If you want to go on a trip this year, I created a sheet just for you. This is a sheet where you literally just connect the dots for a plane. So I you figure out whatever it is it'll cost you to go on the trip, and as you can see here, as you divide that by 42. So if you're going on a trip and it costs $4,200, you divide by 42, whatever that is, that would be like $100, right? So every time you got $100 and you knock off these numbers here, about that when you come back from vacation, no. So why not have a family vacation savings challenge? And I created like little icons here that you can just color in as you achieve them. So once you achieve them, you are able to just put that money aside. So when you do go on your trip, you go worry free about that credit card statement coming in when you come home because you save that money towards that trip and you can go anywhere that you want. And it makes it fun for you and the family to do, right? So that's an activity that you guys can also do together. The pre-trip expense spending money. You figure out that total and then you just work towards just crossing off each of these icons as you get that money. So that was another sheet that I created. For those that have big expenses, say you're looking to purchase a house or a car, here is the down payment per house. So as you can, let's say you need $20,000 to color in one of these houses, or you can write in the house and put $500 saved. And every time you get some money, you just cross off the houses and you put it out there until you hit that target for your down payment. So this is a challenge that you could also do with your family to help you save for that down payment. Or there's also a connect the dots sheets. See if I can find it here. Connect the dot sheets. Where is it? Oh, here. So connect the dots. Same concept. Divided by 50 to figure out your down payment, and you start connecting the dots. Once all the dots are connected, you have enough for a down payment. Congratulations! Now you can start house shopping. That's another sheet that I created in the Financially Fit activity book. For those that don't have a copy, you can click the link in my bio to get your copy today. Another sheet. Where's the other one that I created that I want to talk about? Not that one. I also put some extra challenges in here. The Extreme Savings Challenge. So that's when you go to a grocery store, you kind of give yourself a seriously tight budget. So someone that's like an individual, $20 is your weekly budget. For family, $75. For those that are saying $20 is ridiculous, I did it. And you can watch my YouTube video on how I did it. It's possible. If you have too much clothes in your closet, I created this sheet just for you. This is the closet audit. What I want you guys to do going forward, if you have a lot of clothes in your closet and you kind of think, all right, I have I'm not wearing. This is all you're gonna do. You're gonna take all your clothes and you're gonna set your hangers one way. Every time you wear something and you wash it and you put it back, you're gonna turn the hanger the other way. Do an inventory every 6 months. If something is still the same way that it was when you first set it up, then it's something that you're not wearing. So two things or three things are gonna happen. A, you're gonna get rid of it and donate it. B, you're gonna sell it. Or C, before you go shopping, that's kind of indication that you don't need to shop for more clothes. You have enough in what's in your closet. If you're looking to make some extra cash, there's so many secondhand stores or websites that you can use to resell your clothes, especially the designer clothes. You can, I think, it's one's called Poshmark or whatever. Uh, there's Facebook Marketplace, Kijiji. Uh, what's the other one? eBay. There's so many different places that you can go to sell these things secondhand. Same thing with shoes. If you're a big sneaker collector, there's many different sites that you can go on to resell your shoes to other people. So if you're looking to make some extra cash, here's a sheet just for you guys. What is the other one I created? If you are somebody that has a big follow or a lot of contacts in your phone and you're looking to make some extra money, I created the WhatsApp Bake Challenge. You literally can take pre-orders from people on baked goods and you can sell it directly on your WhatsApp story. I did this with my daughter and it worked like a charm for us. I didn't want to make too or have too much of a certain item that I was making. So I said, hey, let's bake together and let's uh, pictures and put it online. And you know what happened? People bought it. We sold out within like 5 minutes. We made some cookies, some butter tarts, and we made some money. So that's something that you guys definitely can do if you're looking to make some extra change just based off of your WhatsApp story. Let's see here. What else did I want to talk about with this book? There was something that came to mind. I don't remember. Where was it? Not the house. So I talked about that. The credit. If you guys have any questions, leave it in the comments. Um, let's see here. Something else that I created stood out now. Oh, here we go. For those that have a spending problem, before I make a purchase commandment checklist, is it a need or is it a want? Can I buy it 3 times? Will I use this frequently? Will I regret it later? Wait 3 days. If you didn't remember it, don't buy it. Can this be put on your milestone mountain list? Create your own additional rules. I created this rule for myself and also those people that love to shop. I also have an additional one that I didn't add here, but I'm going to tell you guys because you guys are watching this right now. If you want to go splurge, before you splurge, say to yourself, all right, if I'm going to spend $500 or $1,000 on XYZ, I got to buy the equivalent in an investment product. So that could be a mutual fund, that could be a property if you can buy something that cheap. There are things that you can buy cheap enough properties. And if you want to know more about that, send me a DM and I'll tell you about it. Or in the stock market. So if, say, I decide I'm going to go spend $2,000 on clothes, I got to take that same $2,000 and buy $2,000 worth of stocks. So that's literally $4,000 I got to spend. So that's called the 2x rule. So if you are somebody that shops way too frequently or just splurging here, there, everywhere, I want you to apply that rule. And the reason why I want you to apply that rule is because it will help you with your spending. It'll make you think twice about how much that you're spending. Also, it will help you increase your net worth at the same time, right? Like say you do buy something like maybe Microsoft or Apple, and maybe you go splurging 3 times a year and you spend $2,000 each time. That's $6,000 that you'll now have in the stock market. And if you keep doing that on a or whenever you have these splurge moments, imagine how much money you have after like 5 or 10 years. You have a shit ton of money, and you guess what? If you buy something that actually pays dividends, guess what that dividends does? They pay you. So now you can actually take that dividends money and now use that money instead of the hard-earned money that you're using before to buy these things. So it kind of works out both ways for you, right? So it kind of says, do I really want to purchase this and I have to spend here? But it's like, yeah, screw that. I'm gonna spend that and I'm gonna put that here as well. So it's like you're having a balance of both at the same time instead of just throwing away money like that. So that was the sheet that I wanted to talk about, the purchase sheet. Let me see here. For those that have a lot of debt, I also created a sheet where you can actually fill in your debt. You write out your total amount of debt, and then you can take each of the piggy bank as you hit a certain milestone, like 5, 10%, you color that in until you hit 100%, or you can work from the bottom up, whichever. It doesn't really matter. It's all up to you. And that's pretty much why this book exists, to make being an adult fun. Whatever money situations that you're going through, this book will solve all those problems. So I said a lot here. If you guys have any questions, feel free to DM me. I'm always available to answer your questions when it comes to money. I'm Dean, your go-to guy for building wealth. I make money concepts easy to understand, and I appreciate all you guys for being here. And if you are not subscribed to my channel as of yet, it's Dean the Wealth Coach, and I'll see you on the next video.